Hello guys, and thank you so much for joining me back on my channel. My name is Makami. I'm an artist. I make time-lapse videos. I also like to talk as much as I like to draw. And on today's menu, guys, I'm going to be showing you my process of how I created this fan art piece for the new Animal Crossing game. It's Blathers asleep in his study. I'm also going to be talking about some of the techniques I use to create this piece. So I've been playing New Horizons now for the last week or so, and I have to say I'm incredibly impressed. I'm really happy with the game. I really think that Nintendo outdid themselves when they created this game. The graphics are really beautiful. I really love all the features. I like that they took all the features from the past games and they pretty much lumped it all into this game. I would certainly give this Animal Crossing game a 10 out of 10. Alright guys, so on to the art. For those of you that don't know, I use Procreate on the iPad Pro, and for this line art layer that I'm doing right now, I'm using the round brush at 90% opacity. So I usually use, for my line art, I use the brush pen brush because I really like the tapering effect that the brush pen has, and I also really like the shape. Lately I've been a little bit more partial to the round brush, especially at a lower opacity, because when I go in to color my line art, you can kind of see the color come through the line art, and it kind of just saves me extra steps that I would if I was using the brush pen. So at this point, I believe that I have about 5 layers. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember. I did this piece a couple of days ago and I'm just trying to recall everything I did with this piece, so just bear with me, guys. But anyway, when I work on pieces like this where they have a lot of detail, I try to group the layers, or I try to work on stuff in groups. So Blathers in the orange is going to be one layer and he will continue to be one layer. The desk and all the stuff that's on the desk is going to be one layer. The shelf and the stuff on the wall is going to be another layer. The outside is going to be another layer. Fish tank and the water and the glass and everything is going to be one layer. And then the wistful painting on the bottom right over there is also going to be another layer. So what did I say? I think I said 6 layers. Just finishing up the line art, and I'm going to put down the opacity on the layer by 50%, and I'm going to start to color in the piece. And what I'm using to color is a medium hard airbrush at 100% opacity. So this is where I'm going to start to combine my layers, or not combine them, but just kind of group them together. So I was saying that Blathers' line art, that has its own layer. His color also has its own layer that's going to be separate from all the other color layers for like the desk, the shelf, outside, etc. So one of the things that's really important to me throughout making just any piece in general is to stay organized. I especially like detailed pieces like this, where there's a lot going on, a lot of mistakes can happen. Most importantly, I really try to stay organized, and that really helps me through what I'm trying to accomplish. So you're probably noticing right now I'm also doing that little Easter egg of the girl in the pearl earring. I have to say this was probably one of my favorite parts of doing this piece, was recreating the girl with the pearl earring painting onto my piece. And for those of you that don't know and don't play Animal Crossing, or are new to Animal Crossing, so Blathers, this character, he is an owl, obviously. He works at the museum, and when you enter the museum, you can donate fossils, fish, bugs to Blathers. And I'm not quite sure if they're doing it for New Horizons, but you used to be able to donate paintings, and the paintings that were in Animal Crossing were actually based off of paintings in real life, like Monet and Vincent van Gogh and all that stuff. But my favorite has always been the Wistful painting, and the Wistful painting is just basically the girl with the pearl earring painting. So it looks like I'm starting to work on the outside part. I actually cheated a little bit and just found a picture on the internet of the Animal Crossing grass with the little triangles and everything. So just trying to be honest, I did cheat a little bit. So one detail I'd like to make note of is the part I'm doing right now, and I decided that that picture of Blathers is him finding a fossil for the very first time and how excited he was. Alright guys, so I'm starting to shade in my piece now. The brush that I'm using to shade is called Tamar. It's under the painting tab in Procreate brushes, and I'm using the brush at 75% opacity. For shading, I usually like to use a clipping mask. So for those of you that are just starting to use Procreate or have never used Procreate before, what a clipping mask is a layer that's used in conjunction with another layer so that you can keep both layers separated. So I use my coloring, so this is where the grouping kind of comes in handy. So Blathers, like I said, he's a layer group. So he has one layer for line art, he has one layer for color, and then I use a clipping mask on top of his color layer to keep the shade within the color boundaries without messing up the color itself. I'm also using a clipping mask for my highlights as well. For my highlighting, I'm also using the Tamar brush at 75%, and then I've also dropped down the layer opacity to, I would say, 25%. And I'm also using a soft airbrush eraser as well to kind of diffuse the light where the light is not so strong. And then to add a little bit more of that diffusion, I also go back in with a soft airbrush and just kind of fill in the spots where I might have used the eraser a little bit too aggressively. I'm also doing the same thing with the shade as well. I'm just going in with a soft airbrush and just filling in where it's a little bit darker. And then I'm going back in to add some extra highlights. And the very last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double that line art layer. I'm going to set one of those layers to multiply, and I'm going to put a Gaussian blur on one of those layers as well to 0.5%, I would say. And there you have Blathers in his study, sleeping like a little angel. Thank you so much guys for tuning back in. I hope to see you again next time. Bye bye.